Three black SUVs pulled onto a dirt road and stopped outside a rusty trailer. The elderly woman who lived there was convinced they were there to evict her. Then the first man spoke.
Mrs. Hollis, do you remember the winter of 1991? A hungry boy with a guitar?
Margaret froze. 32 years collapsed into nothing. She'd let a homeless kid sleep in her storage room, fed him eggs, listened to him play. She didn't know he'd spent half his life looking for her, and they were holding an envelope with her name on it.
Welcome to Tales Unveiled. Let's get started.
Everyone in Shady Pines knew Margaret Hollis didn't have money for a new roof, let alone high-powered lawyers. So when three black SUVs blocked her driveway and men in Italian suits stepped out carrying leather briefcases, the neighbors didn't just watch, they held their breath. Margaret's hands trembled as she cracked open the door. The man in front removed his sunglasses. Mrs. Hollis, formerly Margaret Dwyer? She hadn't heard that name in 30 years. We've been searching for you for 2 years. May we come in? It's about a young man you helped a very long time ago. Margaret's trailer was clean but small. Three men in $1,000 suits made it feel even smaller. The lead attorney took the chair across from her while his associates stood near the door, like sentries, guarding something precious. Mrs. Hollis, I need to ask you about the winter of 1991. Specifically, about a young man you may have helped. A teenager, 17 or 18 years old, carried a guitar. Margaret set down her coffee cup. 1991, 32 years ago. She'd been running Dwyer's Diner in Carver Springs back then, a small town halfway between nowhere and nothing. I helped a lot of people over the years. Carver Springs wasn't a wealthy town. This young man would have stayed for several weeks, possibly slept in your storage room. He'd aged out of the foster care system, had nowhere to go. The memories surfaced slowly at first, then all at once. The cold snap that January, the kid with the sad eyes and the beat-up guitar case, the late nights after closing when he'd play quietly while she cleaned up, the napkin, the words she'd said, the way he'd grabbed a napkin from the dispenser and written them down like they were something holy. I remember him, Margaret said. Skinny kid, polite, never told me his name, just left a note when he took off. The attorney reached into his briefcase and pulled out a photograph, slid it across the table. The photo showed a man on stage, spotlight cutting through darkness, guitar in his hands. He was older in this picture, maybe 40, but Margaret recognized something in his face immediately, those searching eyes. That's him, that's the boy. Her voice caught. He made it? He actually made it? He made it, Mrs. Hollis, more than made it. He became one of the most successful singer-songwriters of his generation. Margaret stared at the photograph. The kid who'd washed dishes without being asked, who'd fixed the leak under her sink, who'd played guitar so softly after closing that she'd sometimes forget he was there. I need to play you something, the attorney said. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and set it on the table. The first chord hit the air, and the room vanished. And suddenly, Margaret wasn't in a trailer in 2023. She was back in the diner, wiping a counter, watching a skinny kid scribble on a napkin. And then the voice, his voice, but stronger, richer, weathered by decades, sang the words, her words, the advice she'd given to a ghost. Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God, oh my God! The attorney paused the song. Mrs. Hollis? That's what I said to him. The coffee cup slipped from her hands. She didn't notice it shatter on the floor. That night in the diner, he was frustrated, couldn't finish his song, and I told him. She couldn't breathe. I told him exactly that, word for word. He wrote it on a napkin. His expression confirmed what she already knew. Mrs. Hollis, I need to show you something. He pulled out a document, old, yellowed, a copyright registration form from 1993. Margaret's eyes found what he wanted her to see. Under lyrics, 2 names were listed, the artist's name and hers, Margaret Dwyer. He credited you as co-writer, the attorney said. Every album, every licensing agreement, every royalty statement for 31 years. Your name has been on this song since the day he registered it. I didn't write anything, I just talked to him. It was unusual. His lawyers questioned it at the time, but he insisted. The attorney paused. What You Said became the most successful song of his career. And per the copyright agreement, you've been entitled to royalties since 1993. Margaret stared at the document. Her name, in faded typewriter ink, on something she never knew existed. Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't he come back? The attorney's expression softened. He tried. After the song went platinum, he hired investigators to find you, but you'd sold the diner by then. Remarried, changed your name, moved several times. He was looking for me? For over 20 years. He never stopped. He paused. Mrs. Hollis, he passed away 8 months ago, peacefully, in his sleep. He was 61. He left very specific instructions in his will, instructions that led us to you. Margaret closed her eyes. The boy with the guitar, the boy she'd fed and sheltered and talked to through long winter nights. Gone, before she could ever see what he became. I need to tell you about that winter, she said quietly. About why I helped him, about what I said. The attorney nodded. Take your time. Margaret went back 32 years. Dwyer's Diner sat on the main road through Carver Springs, California, a town of 3,200 people that most travelers passed without stopping. Margaret had run the place for 11 years, since her husband Bill convinced her that buying a failing diner was somehow a good investment. Bill was wrong about a lot of things, but the diner survived, barely. Enough to pay the bills, raise a family, build a life that felt solid even when it wasn't. Then came the accident. Their son Michael was 18. Just graduated high school, heading to community college in the fall. He was driving home on a Saturday night when a drunk driver crossed the center line. Michael died, and everything Margaret thought was solid crumbled. Grief does strange things to people. It did strange things to Margaret and Bill. She threw herself into work, into the diner, into movement. Staying busy was the only way she could breathe. Bill needed something different. He needed her to stop, to sit with him in the pain, to grieve the way he grieved. Neither of them was wrong. They just couldn't find each other in the dark. The marriage ended quietly in 1990. No anger, just exhaustion. Two people who loved each other but couldn't figure out how to be broken together. By January 1991, Margaret was 41 years old, running the diner alone, living in the small apartment above it. Most days she was okay. Some days she wondered what she was doing any of it for. That's when the boy walked in. Tuesday night. Slow. Temperature had dropped below freezing, unusual for Central California. Margaret was about to flip the sign to closed when the door opened and cold wind pushed a teenager into her diner. He was thin, not fashionably thin, hungry thin. His clothes were wrong for the weather. Jean jacket, flannel shirt, jeans worn through at the knees. He carried a guitar case held together with duct tape and faded stickers. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Not hard eyes, not angry eyes, just tired. The kind of tired that comes from having nowhere to go and no one waiting for you. Kitchen's closing, she said automatically. I'm not here to eat. His voice was rough. I was wondering if you need any dishes washed, floors mopped. I'll work for food. Yeah. She looked at his hands wrapped around the counter edge for warmth. They were shaking, just like Michael's hands used to shake before a big exam. The grief hit her like a physical blow. But this time, instead of knocking her down, it pushed her forward. If she couldn't help her own son anymore, maybe she could help someone else's. Sit down, she heard herself say. I'll make you something. She cooked him scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, a glass of milk, a slice of apple pie that hadn't sold. He ate like he hadn't seen food in days. What's your name, honey? She asked. He shrugged. Does it matter? Guess not. I'm Margaret. He nodded but didn't offer anything in return. That was fine. Some people carried their names like burdens. She understood that. You got family somewhere? He shook his head. Aged out of foster care 6 months ago. Been on my own since. Where are you headed? Los Angeles, maybe. Heard there's music there. Margaret looked at the guitar case. You play? It's all I know how to do. She should have sent him on his way. Full stomach. Directions to the highway. Good luck. Instead, she pointed to the back of the diner. I've got a storage room. It's not much, but there's a space heater and it's dry. You can stay tonight. Figure out your plan in the morning. He looked at her like she'd spoken another language. Why would you do that? She thought of Michael, of all the things she'd never get to give him. Because it's cold. Because you're young. Because someone should. He stayed that night, and the next, and the next. Margaret kept telling herself it was temporary, just until the weather broke, just until he had somewhere to go. But days turned into weeks, and the boy became part of the diner's rhythm. He earned his keep, washed dishes without being asked, mopped floors, fixed the leak under the sink, the loose hinge on the bathroom door, the flickering light above the counter. He had a gift for mechanical things, could look at something broken and understand how to make it work. You're good with your hands, Margaret told him one night. Foster homes teach you that. Fix things yourself, or they stay broken. During the day, he'd walk around town or sit in the library, but at night, after closing, he played guitar, not for anyone, just for himself. Soft melodies that drifted through the empty diner, while Margaret wiped tables and counted the day's receipts. Sometimes he'd sing, voice barely above a whisper, words she couldn't quite make out. She found herself looking forward to those hours. The diner felt less empty, with music in it. His playing filled spaces she hadn't realized were hollow. About 2 weeks in, she asked about the guitar. It was my mom's, he said. She taught me before she passed. Only thing I have from her. How old were you when you lost her? 10. Then it was foster care until I turned 18. 7 different homes. He shrugged like it didn't matter, but Margaret could see that it did. This guitar's the only thing that stayed with me the whole time. She understood about holding on to things, about objects that carried people inside them. What about you? He asked. You run this place by yourself? I do now. My husband and I split up last year. I'm sorry. It happens. People grow in different directions sometimes. She almost left it there. But something about his face, the openness, the hunger for connection that he tried so hard to hide, made her keep talking. We lost our son, Michael, 2 years ago, car accident. She wiped the same spot on the counter she'd already wiped 3 times. Grief broke something between us. We couldn't figure out how to put it back together. He was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry about your son. I'm sorry about your mom. They sat in the kind of silence that only people who understand loss can share. Not uncomfortable, just honest. After that night, something shifted. They weren't strangers anymore, just 2 people who knew what it meant to have pieces missing. The boy was working on something. Had been working on it since before he arrived, he told her. A song about his mother, about loss, about trying to keep moving when you wanted to stop. Most nights he'd play fragments, scratch out lyrics, start over. The melody was there, beautiful, aching, but the words kept escaping him. One night, about 3 weeks in, Margaret found him surrounded by crumpled paper. Guitar in his lap, pen in his hand, frustration all over his face. It's not working, he said. I've been trying for 2 years, and I can't make it say what I need it to say. What are you trying to say? I don't know. That's the problem. I know what I feel, but I can't turn it into words people will understand. Margaret finished wiping down the last table and sat across from him in the booth. Play me what you have. He played. The melody was haunting, the kind of thing that stayed with you. But he was right. The lyrics weren't quite there. Close. Not there. What do you want people to feel when they hear it? She asked. He thought about it. That losing someone doesn't mean they're gone, that they stay with you somehow. But I can't figure out how to say that without it sounding like a greeting card. Margaret was quiet. She thought about Michael, about the 2 years since he'd been gone, about what she'd learned carrying that weight every single day. When Michael died, she said slowly, I thought grief would swallow me whole. I thought I'd never feel anything but that weight for the rest of my life. He watched her, not interrupting. But here's what I've figured out. The grief doesn't get smaller. You just learn to carry it differently. You grow bigger around it, strong enough to hold the pain and still have room for other things. She paused, finding the words. The people we lose don't disappear. They become part of who we are. They live in our choices, in the way we treat people, in the kindness we didn't know we had until we needed it. He had gone very still. Michael is in everything I do now, Margaret continued. Every time I help someone when I don't have to. Every time I keep the diner open late for someone who needs a warm place. Every time I choose kindness when it would be easier to look away. That's him. That's how he stays alive. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Margaret watched his face change, something clicking into place behind those searching eyes. Then he grabbed a napkin from the dispenser and started writing. Fast, urgent, like if he didn't get it down immediately, it would disappear. Margaret went back to wiping the counter, giving him space. When she glanced over 20 minutes later, he was still writing, the napkin now covered in cramped handwriting, his guitar forgotten beside him. He didn't play her the finished song, and 3 days later, he was gone. She found the note on the counter when she came down to open the diner. Thank you for everything. For the food, for the warmth, for the words. I'll find a way to repay you someday. I promise. No signature, just those words. Margaret folded the note and kept it in a drawer. She saved the crumpled napkin too, the one covered in his handwriting. She didn't know why. Some instinct told her it mattered. She figured she'd never see him again. She figured wrong. The attorney waited while Margaret collected herself. Those words, he said gently. What you told him about grief, about the people we lose staying with us. That's the chorus of the song, almost word for word. I never knew. I heard that song 1,000 times and I never knew it was me. He made some changes for the melody, but the heart of it, that's you. That's what you gave him. Margaret looked at the photograph again, the boy with the guitar, the man he became. Tell me what happened to him, she said, after he left. The attorney nodded. It wasn't immediate success. He spent 3 more years struggling, sleeping in his car, playing open mics for empty rooms. He almost quit several times. But he didn't. He didn't. In 1994, he got a meeting with a small record label, played them that song, the one with your words. They signed him the same day. He pulled out another photograph. Album cover. The boy older now, mid-20s, still those same searching eyes. The album went gold in 6 months, platinum within a year. That song became a phenomenon. It played at weddings, at funerals, in movies. It became the song people turned to when they lost someone and needed to feel less alone. Margaret's eyes burned. He did that with what I said. He did that because of what you said and what you did. Every interview he talked about the woman in the diner. Never said your name. He was protecting you, didn't want you overwhelmed, but he told the story constantly about the kindness that saved him. I didn't save him. I just fed him some eggs. You did more than that. You showed him he mattered when the world had shown him otherwise. You gave him words for feelings he couldn't express. You let him be human when he'd forgotten how. The attorney slid a folder across the table. The royalties, Mrs. Hollis. As co-writer, you've been entitled to a percentage of every sale, every license, every stream for 31 years. He set up a trust in your name. Every payment that should have gone to you has been deposited and invested, waiting until we could find you. Margaret opened the folder with shaking hands. The number had too many zeros, more money than she'd made in her entire life combined. This can't be right. It's right. The song has been licensed hundreds of times. Commercials, films, television. It's one of the most played songs of the past 3 decades. This is your share. Margaret stared at the paper. She'd been living in a trailer, counting every dollar, wondering if her Social Security would stretch to the end of the month. And all this time, there was an account with her name on it. I can't accept this. I didn't earn it. Mrs. Hollis, you absolutely earned it. His will was explicit. He wanted you to have what was always yours. The attorney paused. There's one more thing. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope, handwritten on the front, for Margaret, when you find her. He wrote this years ago, left instructions that it only be given to you in person after everything else was explained. Margaret took the envelope. Her name in handwriting she'd never seen as an adult, neater than the note he'd left on her counter, the script of someone who'd found confidence. She opened it carefully. Dear Margaret, if you're reading this, they found you. I always knew they would eventually. I just wish I could have been there to see your face. I've started this letter so many times. How do you thank someone for everything? You saved me, Margaret. I don't mean that as an exaggeration. I mean, you literally saved my life. I was 17 when I walked into your diner. I'd been on the road for 4 months, aged out of foster care with nothing but my mom's guitar and $60 that ran out in the first week. I was cold, hungry, and running out of reasons to keep going. Then you said, "Sit down, I'll make you something." And everything changed. You didn't have to help me. Nobody had to help me. My whole life taught me that nobody would. But you did. You fed me. You gave me a place to sleep. You talked to me like I mattered. And then you told me about Michael. I've never forgotten that night. You were wiping tables, and I was frustrated because I couldn't find words for this song I'd been writing for 2 years. And you told me what you'd learned about grief, about how the people we lose become part of us, about how they live in our choices, in our kindness, in the way we love what's still here. I grabbed a napkin and wrote down every word. I still have that napkin, kept it in my guitar case for 30 years. It's framed in my studio now. That song, Margaret, the one you've heard 1,000 times and never knew was yours. That's you. That's your son. Every time it plays at a funeral and helps someone cry. Every time it comes on the radio and someone thinks about the person they've lost. Every time it reminds someone that grief doesn't mean the end of love. That's you and Michael, reaching people you'll never meet. I wanted to come back, find you, tell you what you did for me, but I was ashamed for so long. The homeless kid, the foster care reject. I kept thinking I'd reach out when I was somebody, when I deserved the kindness you showed me. Turns out, I always deserved it. That's what you taught me. Everyone deserves kindness, even the ones who don't know how to ask for it. The money is yours. You earned it. But I know you, Margaret. I know you'll think it's too much. So here's what I'm asking. Use it to help someone the way you helped me. There are other kids out there, other lost ones who just need someone to see them, someone to make them eggs, someone to say, "Stay tonight, figure it out tomorrow." Someone to remind them they matter. Be that person. That's all I ask. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the storage room. Thank you for the words. You taught me that the people we lose live on in our choices. I've tried to make choices that would make you proud. I hope I did okay. P.S. My mom's name was Margaret too. When you told me yours, I knew you were meant to find me. Margaret read the letter twice. Then she held it against her chest and let the tears come. Not sad tears. Not entirely. Something more complicated. Grief and gratitude tangled together. Loss and love. The ache of missed years and the warmth of knowing none of it was wasted. The boy she'd fed became a man who changed millions of lives, and he never forgot where it started. The attorney gave her time. When she finally looked up, he spoke gently. "Take as long as you need to process this. The money isn't going anywhere. When you're ready, we can discuss—" "A foundation," Margaret interrupted. "I'm sorry." "He asked me to help others the way I helped him. That's what I want to do." She wiped her eyes. "A foundation. For kids aging out of foster care. Give them a place to land when the system lets go." The attorney smiled. He would have loved that. Hot meals, a safe place to sleep, people who listen. She looked at the letter again. Someone to remind them they matter. That's what he needed. That's what I can give. "We can absolutely help you set that up. The estate would be honored to contribute additional funding." "Michael," Margaret said quietly. "I want to name it after Michael. The Michael Hollis Foundation." She paused. "He's in that song. He might as well be in this too." 6 months later, the foundation launched. Margaret stood at a podium in Los Angeles, surrounded by music industry executives, foster care advocates, and hundreds of fans who'd loved that song for decades. She told the story, the diner, the cold night, the hungry kid, the napkin. The song played. His voice filled the ballroom. Margaret's words in the chorus. People cried. People smiled. All of them hearing it differently now. After the speeches, after the donations, after the cameras stopped flashing, Margaret went home. Not to the trailer. She'd bought a small house now. Nothing fancy, just enough room for her and the memories she carried. She unpacked a box she'd kept in storage for 3 decades, found what she was looking for. The napkin, yellowed, creased, covered in cramped handwriting she now recognized. The attorney had given her one more thing before she left Los Angeles. His personal effects included the framed napkin from his studio, the same words, her words, preserved behind glass for 30 years. "He wanted you to have it," the attorney had said. the original and his copy, together, like they were always meant to be. Margaret hung them both on her living room wall. Next to them, she placed the platinum record she'd been presented at the foundation launch, 3 pieces of paper behind glass, 2 napkins, one worth nothing, one platinum record, worth a fortune. She looked at them for a long time, then she smiled. The napkin was the one that mattered. The napkin was the one that had actually saved 2 lives, a 17-year-old boy who needed someone to see him, and a 41-year-old woman who'd forgotten why she kept going. Michael was in those words, in that song, in every dollar the foundation would use to help lost kids find their way. That's how the people we love stay alive, not in photographs or headstones, in the choices we make, in the kindness we give, in the ripples that spread long after we're gone. Margaret touched the glass, the napkin, the words she'd said 32 years ago to a stranger in her diner. "Look what you did, Michael," she whispered. "Look what we did." One meal, one conversation, one moment of being seen, and a crumpled napkin that changed the world.
Love this story? Hit that like button and subscribe for more. Don't forget to check out the video currently on your screen. You won't want to miss it. See you next time.